was Stefan Zimont on the streets of Minneapolis. Well, we've got now a Chicago native DW reporter, Stacey Bivens, joins us. Stacey, it started in Minneapolis, but it's spread across the US now.
That's right. The arrest of one of the officers involved in the killing of George Floyd hasn't calmed anger and frustration. From New York to Dallas to Washington, D.C., demonstrators are demanding justice, and they're demanding more than what they've gotten. This comes from the desperation that people felt watching this man, George Floyd, lie on the ground with an officer's knee in his neck for at least 8 minutes, and watching him struggle and beg for his life and call for his mother. This has enraged people, and it's made people want to really push for what they feel is lacking in the United States, which is actually justice for all. You hear it, you read it on the money, but they're saying that justice is not the same for everybody. If you're black or brown, you aren't afforded the same kinds of rights as white people in the United States. So what these protesters and activists are saying is that they want all of the officers involved in the killing of George Floyd to be arrested and charged with murder.
There are a lot of people on the streets in apparent solidarity with Mr. Floyd, but we've been here before in a lot of ways, from 20 years ago to 10 to last year to 6 months ago.
Exactly.
What has actually changed on the timeline?
Well, you know, that really depends on who you ask. As you mentioned, I'm from Chicago, and when I talk to activists in my church and church elders, they'll tell you that nothing has really changed. They'll tell you that in the 1960s, it was lynching with the Ku Klux Klan. And in 2020, it's police killing unarmed black people without any kind of punishment. And so they're really pushing for the United States to actually make substantive change. And they say that this cannot happen unless white people who benefit from white privilege in the United States step forward and speak up for other Americans. They need to, as they're telling me, use their privilege to make a difference, because it's not up to black Americans to change the way the system works. It wasn't built to help us work, but white Americans benefit from it. And if they actually care about the fabric of America, then they need to step up and they need to help out. And there was some promise of that when you look at the groups of demonstrators across the country. You mentioned that there's been protests before and people angry, demanding change before. We saw this with Michael Brown, with his killing in Ferguson, Missouri. We saw this with Eric Garner and his killing in New York. But now the groups of people are more diverse. There are more white allies taking a stand in the streets. And they're marching side by side with black and brown people. And it's various ages that are doing that. And so now there's a little bit of more hope that there will actually be substantive change in the U.S.
The frustration we're seeing, what chance is there that there's more than just a stand against police brutality here, or there's something more in the mix, and that the pandemic has put financial stress on people, and part of what we're seeing play out are these individuals on the streets who may be at the moment under real stress at this exact moment as well?
That's absolutely true. I mean, what the coronavirus showed us is that there is a real disparity in the United States between black and white. There's a huge chasm. And there's a saying in the United States that when white America catches a cold, black America catches the flu. So it's harder. But you can make things better for everybody if you lift the shackles of institutional racism. And that means that black people's skin isn't weaponized against them, that they're not presumed guilty and have to prove their innocence later, and that they are treated with all of the rights that all other Americans are supposed to have. And so there's this hope that with this groundswell surrounding George Floyd's death, that maybe we can come to that.
Stacey, appreciate your reporting, appreciate your honesty. Thank you.
You're welcome.